What's up, y'all? Welcome to How To Mondays on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. Today is part 3. Yes, part 3. I know I didn't tell y'all I was doing a part 3, but it just so happened that I was working with another graduate student and she was preparing for an interview. So if you've seen my previous videos, they've been more on the behind the scenes end of things, such as how do you conduct a quality interview, as well as how do you take the professional development from conducting a quality interview. Both of those videos have been linked above, so feel free to go check them out and then come back to this one or just stick with this one. All 3 of the videos are standalone, so you can watch them in any order and still get some great tips from them. And so with that, let's get into it. You can take this same approach to when you're interviewing for graduate school, because also when you're going into graduate school, you're making a commitment. You're choosing to be with this institution for, if you're going for a master's degree, for 2 years, if you're going for a PhD, 4+ years. And so it's really important that you make the best decision that you can make for yourself so that you can have a healthy, holistic lifestyle as a student. So the first thing you should do is read the job description and be able to demonstrate or be able to speak on how you've demonstrated in your previous positions or volunteer work that you have the ability to fulfill whatever duties are required in the job description. That's not as hard as it seems. But if you would like me to talk a little bit more about that, let me know in the comments and I can do an additional video. Maybe it'll be a random Wednesdays video or something like that. The second thing that you could do in preparing for a job interview is Google the person who will be interviewing you, or even Google the company. Googling the employer or the company is important so that you have an idea of what types of things your employer or your company values. And so a lot of times, companies will start with companies. Companies will have mission statements. And if you understand what the mission statement is of your company, one, that helps into the third thing that we're going to talk about, but it helps you to understand what kind of language should you be using so that you can be a more appealing candidate for that company. Now, in terms of if you can tell exactly who you're interviewing with, you can Google them. You can see what is their position title. You can see what types of awards they may have gotten or what type of things they are involved in. These are all things that go into showing you what that company values and what that individual values that you may be working underneath. Typically, the person, if you're interviewing with a specific person, you'll be working underneath that person in some capacity. So it's really important to have an idea of who you'll be working underneath and being able to speak to some of the things that they appreciate. Now, I'm not saying be all figure out their birthday, their favorite color, their hometown. No, and I'm also not saying be fake or phony or manipulative. I'm just saying have an idea of what is appreciated by the employer in the company, and then you find within yourself how does that align with you and how can you speak to what the company is trying to promote and push forward. So once again, that I'm not saying be fake, phony, and I'm not saying stalk anybody, okay? I'm just saying that it's important to know who you're going to work for. And the third thing you can do to prepare for a job interview is practice responses. Now, I'm not saying that you have to write down a response to the responses. I'm not saying that you have to know exactly like how you'll say it because you don't know what questions you'll be asked in the interview. But what you can be prepared for is have an idea of what responses you may have. So there are some pretty standard questions that are asked in an interview. Some of them being, how do you handle conflict? Or can you describe a time where you had to be a team leader or you were in a team environment and setting, and how did you handle or facilitate something? Right? So there are some questions, generalized questions, that you probably want to be able to answer. And it doesn't hurt to have an idea of when you're asked these questions, what question and what response you'll have to those questions. And I want to even give a bonus right here, right? It's also important that you have questions prepared to ask of the interviewer. So I'm really about changing this narrative when it comes to applying for jobs that, you have to almost like beg and plead for the interviewer or the job to hire you, because it's more about being a good fit. You want to make sure that you can fit into the environment that you're going into, as well as for them fitting you, right? So it's really important for you to feel comfortable where you work, really important for you to feel like you can thrive in your work, not just survive, right? We're not doing the whole working just for a paycheck. We're working for growth, we're working for development. And you should ask those questions in the interview. One of the things that for me that I'm concerned with going into a job is, are you okay with my natural hairstyles, for example? If someone doesn't want to hire me, or they want to tell me that I need to wear certain hairstyles to work for them, then for me, that means that I probably don't want to work for them, because a lot of my joy comes in my ability to be creative with my hair. So it's really important that you ask the questions that are important to you as a person, to your core being, and that making sure that the job that you're going for will suit them. So, to recap on the three things that you can do to prepare for your job interview, the first thing is read the job description and be able to demonstrate how your previous experiences connect to that job description. Google the employer or Google the company. And finally, practice some of your potential responses. Hopefully, these are more tools that you can add to your toolbox to help you graduate with gratification. And actually, this one is going into after graduation, right? This is going into getting that job. Thanks. See ya.